What the deal with the business is, and that's not rhetorical, it's a real question, what the business is. And today the business is advertising, marketing, and a bit of networking. And I had to reach out to this gentleman because he gave me such great advice, him and his lovely wife, Ellen, when we were starting up our business. And it helped us through a lot of good times and trying times because he's a seasoned vet and he gave us some real good advice and some great information. But we're not going to do them any disservice. We're going to let them introduce themselves. How you doing today, sir?
Good. My name is Mike Simpson, and I am an employee at Atlanta Airport Publications that owns the ATL Guide. I am not the owner. My wife is. I'll let her introduce herself now.
How are you today, man?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm Ellen Simpson, owner and co-publisher of what is now called the ATL magazine. Formerly, it was the Atlanta Airport Area Guide for visitors and meeting planners.
Okay, thank you for that great information. And where you couple from?
I am actually born and raised in Key West, Florida. Moved up here to Georgia back in '82.
And Miss Ellen, where are you from?
I was born in Nashville, Tennessee. Lived in a couple of places in Tennessee. Moved to St. Louis, back to Tennessee. Went to school at Auburn University in Alabama, and then for my first job as a small animal veterinarian, I ended up here in Atlanta, and Atlanta's where I've stayed.
Fantastic. And that was one of my questions was what were you into before this? But we kind of covered that. So, Mike, where were you into? What's your background in business before the
My background in
magazine?
business was I've always been an entrepreneur. I owned my first business when I was 16. At 18, I owned a second business. Um, when I was a senior in high school, I would go away and play tennis on the weekends as a senior. And then I would come back and count the money and have 8 employees come and report to me as to how many yards they cut and to how many cars they had washed and waxed. I would do payroll on Sunday, and then I would go around Monday and Tuesday and collect all the proceeds that I had made. So I've always been an entrepreneur. And the one thing that I did learn at a very young age, you will never get rich working for somebody else.
Okay. So you always had that entrepreneur spirit honed
Since I
into
was
you.
16.
And but see, you touched on payroll a little bit, and you had and some guys that was working for you. That was part of something that was in innate as well, or you end up honing that
Yes,
part of.
I had an uncle
Okay.
who was a businessman,
Okay.
and I idolized him. His name was Ronnie. It was my Uncle Ronnie.
Okay.
And he told me one time that somebody was hanging windows, and the guy said, "Those are backwards." Well, he'd owned an aluminum siding company for 30 years. He'd been doing windows, and they weren't backwards. But he turned them around, charged the guy an extra $500, and put them in backwards because that's what the guy wanted. So they learned that he worked for the person. And the other thing he told me was, I could never make enough money hanging windows myself, which is why I have 35 guys that work for me. If I make $5 off of each of those 35 guys, I'd become a very rich man. And I learned that it's that you have to take care of your employees. I've done that all my life, but you can't do it by yourself and get
Okay.
rich.
Okay. So, how long have you guys owned the magazine?
10 years.
Yeah, we purchased it in 2012.
Okay, what made you purchase the magazine? What was the initial thought? And did you guys have a sit down, a meeting, or what was?
Well, I started working for the company 19 and a half years ago. And the first day at work, I started asking how many pages before you couldn't stitch it and had to glue it and all this stuff. And finally, the guy looked at me. He was about 20 years my senior. And he says, "You do know I'm supposed to be interviewing you to decide if I'm going to hire you." And I said, "Well, I'm actually interviewing you to decide if I'm going to go to work for you." And he says, "Where do you think you're going to be in 10 years, big boy?" And I went, "Well, I'll either own the company or I'll be your partner." And 9.5 years later, I was slated to bring him out, was in intensive care, not expected to live through the night. I was in intensive care for 3 days. And when I came out, I said to my wife, "Put your name on the contract, let you buy it. If I die, I don't want you to have to replace me and change the business into your name." So she's owned it 100%. I've never owned it. Uh, we've been married 34 years. I figured, well, the funny thing is, a lawyer said to me, "You really should own part of the business." I said, "No, she can own it all." "No, you really should own part of the business." I went, Why? Well, if she divorces you, you'll have nothing. And I said, if that's the only problem, you don't understand. I got divorced 8 years ago before I married this woman. And what I understand is where I'm working tomorrow is not my biggest problem. So I'm not worried. If she divorces me, she can have the company. I'll go find another job.
Well, of course, the other thing that people don't realize is Michael is a true Renaissance man. He has done so many different things. He started out with the lawn care business. He's been in retail. He's worked in restaurants. He's worked as a professional speaker, a dog groomer, on and on and on, and just came into the publication or printing business just because it fell into his lap, so to speak. And I, like I said, was a small animal veterinarian. Unfortunately, I had to close my practice due to financial responsibilities. I mean, unfortunately, the business just was not supporting itself. So I closed the clinic, and that's when we decided to take on the magazine. I thought, wow, this is something 180 degrees from what I've been doing, because I was a veterinarian for 34 years. I thought, this is a nice change. Let's just try something different.
And you were already on board at the magazine.
I was on board at the magazine. I started off as a salesperson.
Okay.
Then I got made the airport area sales manager. And then they took the word airport out, made me the area sales manager. And then I bumped heads with the owner's son, and he lost, and I became the associate publisher, and he went from general manager to associate publisher. And the first thing I did when I became an associate publisher was I hired my wife to deliver magazines for us, and she was our delivery girl. And so it just grew from there. And she does all the delivery. She does all the accounting. She does all that stuff. We put the book together. We spend about a week putting it all together. And I do 99% of the sales.
Okay. So what did you initially think to change from how the publication was? Not just the cover, but the information that was in there. Did you feel it was lacking anything? Did you feel you need to impart more information, or?
Yeah. Um, the guy that owned the book owned 6 other books. So it didn't have his full attention because he's got 6 other companies to do.
Okay.
So I had full attention on this book. I didn't sell in any of the other books. I only worked in this one. And I saw a lot of things happening in this area that weren't being covered. We're south of I-20. We're the largest magazine publisher south of I-20. We are so big that if you take the number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 publication and add all the books that they print, I print more by myself. In fact, if you take 4 and 5 and add all the books they do, and then double it by 2 years, I got more books in last week. So we're pretty big.
And then, okay, so you're growing. How do you find the entrepreneurs and the new business and the networking that way with the magazine?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I see about entrepreneurs is I bake cupcakes, and I do a lot of cupcakes. And somebody says to me, "You do cupcakes so good, Debbie, you should make cupcakes." So I open a business doing cupcakes, and I don't know how to write a business card, a business plan. I don't know anything about internet. I don't know anything about advertising.
Okay.
And they go out and look for this stuff. And unfortunately, there are people out there that will take advantage of you and tell you, "Oh, you need this, you need that, you need this." And I'll advise anybody. I'll help anybody. My wife will help anybody.
So what would your advice be then if they just have a great recipe for a cupcake but have no business acumen? Because I learned that myself because I was coming from the electrical world into what we were doing. So how can you speak to the business acumen side
I
of
can
it?
tell you what I told my son, and I treat everybody like family. I told my son, he says, "I want to open up a gym." I said, "Good. Go to work for a gym and get all the initials behind your name. And when you finish, leave that company and go to work for another gym and learn all the stuff that they know about a gym, and then open your own place." So if you want to sell cupcakes, go to a bakery and sell cupcakes and learn how to make cupcakes and watch what he does. And then leave there and go to a bigger baker and learn a little bit more, and then open your own business. I know it's not the shortcut.
Right.
I know it's people want to know, how do I do this in 2 weeks, not 2 years. In 2 weeks, you can't learn enough to be able to you can still be successful, but you make a lot of mistakes. It's a whole lot easier to make a mistake with somebody else's money.
Right.
So I would say go to work like the wine company that you did. Go to work for the Valari. Go to work for Cafe at the Corner. Go to work for people like that that already have the spirit and they already know what to do, and you can learn how to do stuff and then open your own place. That's what I recommend.
And you echo those sentiments, or what?
Yes, I would say to get experience, whatever field you want to be in, is try to get experience and also have or find people that you can trust. If you're going to start a business, you want to have a banker that you can trust. If you want to start the business, you want to have like a real estate agent that you can trust, somebody that's interested in you and has your needs in mind to work for you and work with you to achieve your dream.
Okay. And then in terms of building the magazine now, because I saw you guys were beating the pavement. I know you said, Ellen was out there, but I saw both of you guys out there and you came and delivered hours and very personable, things like that. How can you speak to that part of it?
Well, it's not just, the delivery of our magazine, it's being out there and presenting yourself PR wise, like going to business mixers, going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, going to special events to say, hey, I'm the ATL magazine. What can I do to help you to build your presence amongst other people? You've got to let them know who you are, what you do. And that's the networking and the connection part.
We helped start the Tri-Cities Mixer. It's tomorrow night.
Okay.
It's going to be in East Point, and it's the city of East Point, the city of Hayfield, the city of College Park, and the ATL guide. They did it once a quarter. They did it 3 times. We did it the 4th one. And it got to the point they were doing every other month, and we did that. And then we got to the point that they do them, and we just help them. And we do whatever they need. We advertise it, we socialize it, we give them gift cards, we do all that stuff. Now, to give you an example of what an entrepreneur does, we invited a girl from the city of Fairburn to come to an event last month or 3 months ago. And she came, and now she wants to know if she can join. And I said, well, it's Tri-Cities Mixer, not Tri-Cities Mixer in Fairburn. So you need to open your own one. And City of South Fulton, let me hook you up with them. So I hooked them up with the City of South Fulton. And then this one came up with the name of it.
Well, that's not official yet. So they are working to surrounding cities to do the same principle. We were calling it Chat and Chill. And I'm sorry that we have to bring that out because I didn't think that they wanted us to do that yet. But anyway, it's out there now, Chat and Chill.
Well, we put into the universe, it's created.
That's right, it's created.
But it's going to be their own Tri-Cities Mixer.
Right. Which is fantastic.
We've already spoken to the mayor of Union City who's very interested in it. Yeah. And the dynamics are Hakeville, College Park, and East Point are north of the airport. These are all south and west of the airport. And it's a different area.
Right.
So they're going to start their own Tri-Cities Mixer, but it's going to be called Chat and Chill.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Creative.
But it's just, bringing business people together because I'm in the magazine publishing business and somebody else is baking cupcakes doesn't mean we can't learn from each other.
Right.
Business principles, common interests, sharing knowledge, that's what it's all about.
Yes, it is. And how early in the game, because you guys are innovators, you showed me some things earlier. How early did you know the need for online presence? Did you initially saw?
I knew it before they knew it at the other company.
Okay.
And what an online presence gives you is it's your doormat, it's your open sign, it's your there for business. It's open 24/7. If you hear something about an ad about a business and you want to check them out, what's the first thing you do? You check for Facebook and online.
Right. Nowadays, that's what people are doing is online.
And if they don't have an online presence, you wonder if they're real. And they don't have to have a big online presence. Even a simple one page, here's what we do, this is what we sell, please come by and see us, call us, here's my name, and let us know if we can help you. It doesn't have to be this big website like we have now. In fact, our first website for the last 10 years, it's been a one-page website.
And you have, which is fantastic. It's so inclusive that you have the drop-down box and the translator. So That's very innovative, and
Yeah,
can you
one of
speak
the
to that a
things that
bit?
we did, and we thought we would get this website up in 30 days, and it took 6.5 months. And that's another thing I found out.
Was
When you
that
go
with
to,
tinkering or kind of behind the scenes?
some of it was tinkering, but some of it was insisting that they put the translator as the first thing on the website. They
Naturally.
had the bar that said, home, go, see, do, the different categories, and then the translator. No, 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 no. I want it on the front. I want it on the website at the front.
What
And
was the issue with that, other
I,
than you're paying for it to be built and customized the way you'd like it to be? Was it a technical issue, or that's neither here nor there, maybe? But
I don't know what the issue was, but I was
okay,
persistent. And
and you
that's
got it
another thing
done.
that
Okay,
a business entrepreneur has to be.
okay.
A business entrepreneur has to be a very persistent person. If you know something's going to work, you have to stay on it, stay on it, and stay on it. We used to say you have to have that pit bull attitude. If you know that you can sell widgets, you have to be willing to die 100 years from now selling widgets. And so if you have that kind of drive to do something, you can even do it wrong and you'll be successful.
Oh, fantastic.
And of course, the other thing, that program, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what it is, but it's like you make a plan, you move forward, then you stop for a minute and look around and orientate yourself and see, okay, do I need to continue in this direction or move in another? What did you call
Yeah,
it?
I had a program because as a speaker, you have to differentiate yourself from other speakers. And so I was the speaker who spoke, speak like speak. And so as a dog groomer, I came up with an acronym called DOGS, DOGS. And it's very simple. DOGS is discover what you want to be, where you want to go. O, orientate where you are. G's the hardest one. Just go any direction. S is the next hardest one. Stop. Let's see where you are. Let's orientate where you are and decide where you want to go. Oops, I got further away. I'm going the wrong direction. Let's turn 188 degrees around and just go again. Don't care if it's right or not. Just move. For God's sakes, do something. And then stop and then see where you are and then keep going. So it's DOGS. Discover, orientate, go, stop, discover, orientate, go, stop. And that's what you have to do, is constantly reinvent yourself. And it's worked for us.
You actually need to do something with that.
Yeah.
You
I
stopped. You need to go and keep going with that, Mike, because
I did.
That's
No, I
fantastic
did. And I
information.
actually have another program that I used to teach. And it was not how to write a speech, but how to draw a speech. And I did a lot of stuff with chutes and ladders and how we do stuff and how Chinese people write and all that stuff. And so you start off with a piece of paper. In the middle of the paper, you write down what you want. Lower left-hand corner, you develop a picture that gives your introduction. And then across the top, on the top left, middle, and right, you put 3 pictures of what you want to tell people. And down at the bottom, you put a picture of how you close. You memorize your opening and your closing, and your top 3 pictures. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, it could be 3,000 words. It could be 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks. It can be whatever you want to be, and everything's on one piece of paper. So, and I own that, and it is copyrighted to me. And I used to teach it in colleges all over the country before the crash of the market. And then you could get Zig Ziglar for $5,000. So why would you pay $5,000 for me?
Well, you got tried and true behind it. You got field research. You got all these other
Well, I
things that
use
go
all
along.
this. I use all this expertise to help our business, but to help you and others. And the thing is, people just have to ask. I have said, ask me, ask me, ask me. I had a girl the other day who said, I want you to be my mentor. Glad to. So I gave her a recipe that I thought would help her. And she came to an event and she sold 100 of them. She made $500. And she's like, this is going to launch everything. This is amazing. This is great. And being a business entrepreneur, she came up with one similar to it that's almost doing as well. So if you ask for me to help you, the answer is yes.
No,
You ask for my wife to help you, the answer is yes. If we can sell you an ad, we'd love to. But if you need to buy radio, I'll help you do that. If you need to buy TV, you need to buy newspaper, I understand the other mediums because for 30 years I used them. Now I own one and I know my strengths in that business and I know my weaknesses. Our book is not good for selling tennis shoes that you would change the shoes every week because we're 4 times a year. So I would say get in a magazine as a 13-week cycle. Tell them you want page 6 upper right hand corner and don't move off that corner. When they spin to the porch page and they put their thumb there, you want their thumb on top of your ad. So I can help you with that. I can help you with the Comcast. I can help you with the Facebook, the Instagram, Twitter, and building websites. I don't mind telling you what I know, how to do it, and how to get things done. Just ask.
That's great.
Because it's like you said, we didn't make it all on our own. We had people helping us and supporting us and guiding us, and that's what we want to do. We want to help people find people and places because you cannot do it on your own.
You said something earlier, and you fill in the dots.
Dot connector.
Your dot connector.
Mm-hmm.
We're a dot connector, and I don't believe in
networking.
I believe in net weaving.
Okay.
So like instead of your 2 index fingers pointing at each other, I'm talking about folding your hands like you're going to say a prayer. And if you lose one of those fingers, you still got fiber. So when we would go into an ad to work with a hotel, I learned the general manager, the assistant general manager, the director of sales, the guy in the kitchen, the chef, the girls that work in the laundry room, so that if one of them leaves, I still got the other 5 people. So you don't want to just know one person. You want to know the mayor, the vice mayor, the chief of staff, and so on. Because you want to have that strength in knowing all those people well.
And you guys been in the Tri-City area for quite some time. What have you seen change in terms of the businesses? What have kind of been mainstays, and have you seen any kind of business come and go in terms of?
So a lot of people come and go, especially during COVID.
Okay.
And a lot of restaurants, because that's my background as being a chef. A lot of restaurants went belly up. Some of them, it was not their fault. Some of them were halfway out the door already. So it wasn't sustainable. I've seen a lot of people struggle with stuff. I've seen some very innovative and creative things. Steak and Shake has decided to sell all their restaurants off and only do leasing where you can do that. And they shut down the inside of every restaurant and only do to-go orders. I heard today of a barbecue restaurant out in
That's what they're doing currently, only
do to-goes. All the restaurants are shut down. They are not going to build any more restaurants that have dining rooms in them.
Okay.
And so
that's a COVID-driven thing.
It was a COVID-driven theme, but it's done so well for them that they have developed or are in the process of developing a milkshake machine that makes their milkshakes in 15 seconds so that they can speed up going through the drive-thru.
Right.
Because they found out the only slowdown was the 30 different milkshakes that they make, a banana, chocolate chip, whatever. And so they're trying to figure out how to make the milkshakes faster with the milkshake machine.
Okay.
So the biggest thing I'm seeing is people are being more creative and more innovative. They've struggled. We all hurt. But that's why we came up with the slogan for our email.
The comeback is always greater than the setback. And to have a comeback, you got to have a setback.
And so we were all set back. Now, what I have seen in this area is it's the South Side's turn. The North Side can't grow much more. And the North Side used to look down on the South Side. And now, so much so that I think the South Side started to believe it a little bit. But now we're seeing stuff on the South Side coming down. I serve on a board here in the city of Hapeville, and we've got $1 billion worth of infrastructure going to be built in the next 5 years. And so you add $1 billion to the economy of a little city like Hapeville, it's going to put us up on the line. I mean, we're going to be up there. And you see College Park coming around with the building of the arena and the stuff like that. You still see them building hotels. You see them building office parks. You see a lot of building. You got the city of South Fulton It's now not a county, but it's a city, and it's struggling to get everything done. But man, once they figure out what they're going to do, they're going to take off. They got more land. They're the fourth or fifth largest city in the state of Georgia, and so they're going to do fine. They've just got a new economic development guy over there that did a lot in College Park, and he is Artie Jones is going to just kick it off. He's going to be great. He's somebody else you need to interview. Um, there's just so much good stuff happening down here now that this is the place to live and the place to be.
That's fantastic. And my other thought was earlier, you guys work so well in tandem. How do you compartmentalize when we're stopping entrepreneur time and it's now Ellen's time and it's now my is that
But
it's just so
sometimes,
built in now or what?
sometimes they overlap. But here's the best thing: when you own your own business, we took off for a weekend with the Hilton Head.
Yeah, set your own hours.
You set your own hours. That's one of the advantages of being a boss. When we want to shut down, we shut down. We want to play tennis at 6 o'clock every night, and somebody says we got a meeting at 6:15. Well, we'll make the next one because we can do what we need to do. And you have to force yourself to do business. You have to force yourself to have playtime too, because it's important.
You just really have, and I've noticed this in a lot of people, a lot of communities, a lot of governments, a lot of businesses, is they have come to realize that yes, the old way works and it's been working for a long time, but maybe we need to think of other options, or if we want to expand, try new things. And with the development projects coming up, construction and so on and so forth, I think people are coming to realize that change is not a bad thing, and change helps you to grow.
Change is a good thing, but I know from teaching and doing stuff that there are several things that come through change. One of them is you have resistance to change, then you have compliance, and you have acceptance, and then you move on. And that's for everything. And whether it takes you 10 seconds or 10 days or 10 years, you have to work through that process. I can go from the beginning of resistance to acceptance to compliance to where do we go from there in about 10 seconds. It's one of my entrepreneurial gifts. I just go, okay, you can't do that anymore, so now what do we do? Right. And if you can't do it, then stop trying to go through that door. It's locked. It doesn't exist. Look for a window or a back door or something else. And so my spirit in me just says, just let it go. You can't do that anymore. What are we going to do now? So you look around and you find opportunity, because I promise you, it's there.
And the other thing, of course, is the attitude, not just for the entrepreneur, but also for the people that you are going to work with, your employees, and that's the FAT principle.
Yeah, the FAT principle is, I used to tell people you had to be fat. Now, no, it's a good thing it's a podcast, but you and I can both stand to lose a pound or two. Yeah. We're not fat, but we're not slim and slender either.
Yes.
We don't have that athletic build anymore.
We can say that.
But FAT stands for flexible, adaptable, and teachable. And so you need to be flexible in what's going on in your life and not be so rigid. You need to be adaptable, which is what I do, is adapt to what needs to be changes. Once you tell me I can't do something, I adapt. And then the other thing is you need to be open to being taught, because everybody can teach you. You can learn from anybody. And if you go in just to teach, you're not going to get it. You go in to teach and learn, that's like where the spirit comes.
From the boss down to the employees, everybody needs to be FAT, F-A-T.
Flexible, adaptable, and teachable.
And what was that dog acronym again?
DOGS is discover where you are, orientate where you want to go. The next one is just G-O, go. Next one is stop, S-T-O-P.
And repeat
see
the
where
process.
you want to repeat the process. As a professional speaker, I learned to do these things, and the drawing a speech and all this stuff. And when we get offline, I'll show you how to draw a speech, because it's truly amazing. When you see it, you go, oh, geez, that makes sense.
How do you guys stay current and relevant with the times and with what's going on? Because you made the change from the cover of the magazine to now a sole focus kind of.
Well, to tell you, I'll tell you a little known secret. When we bought the book, there were 18 to 20 different fonts throughout the book. And so I went to someone who's a friend of mine that worked at Hartsfield Jackson. And I said to her, if you could do anything in this book, which she said, oh my God, what I'd do is I'd get one font with sans serif and this, and I would get rid of it.
There was
Well, now
20
you need to
fonts.
explain what font means, because a lot of people are not in the print business.
There's, but I put everything I send you on an email will be in the Arial font.
Right.
It all
It's the way
comes
it
in
prints
Times.
out.
It all comes in Times Roman or Courier. I
Right.
don't like those fonts. Those fonts are how the letters curved, how they space out and stuff like that. Then there are different ways to be able, and I don't even understand all this, to do, well, just take a simple one. If you do Arial, you can bold it out, you can italicize it, you can underline it. You have all those things in Outlook
Okay.
and in Word and all that stuff. So you can do those things to the font. But what you don't want to do is have 3 words in one font and then switch to another font with 2 more words and switch to another font with 3 more words. So I went to her, and where I didn't understand, this is where this flexible, adaptable, and teachable is. I said, I don't understand. Let me take my graphics guy to lunch. So I called the guy that lived in Peachtree City, brought him up here. We went to the airport. I took all 3 of us to lunch. We went back to her office, and she taught us an hour and said, well, this is what you do, and this is what you do, and this is what you do. And they were speaking Greek to me, but they were talking. They were communicating in fonts, what they're doing. And then I said, he finally said, what's your favorite font? My favorite one is this. He said, I don't have those. What's your email? She emailed it to him. And our book's been like that for the last 8 years. Every single font is a single font.
They would have different fonts on the same page as well?
Not necessarily on the same page. But
not necessarily on the same page, but you had these columns would be in one font. And then
the photo caption would be
this would be in
different.
another font.
Okay.
And then the calendar of events would be in another font. And it was just because there were 6 magazines. And they said, well, do this. Oh, let's create this and put it in there. They put it in a font. And, oh, let's create this and put it in there. And they have all these different fonts. And we put them all into one font.
Right.
Now, our ads have different fonts for different things that we're trying to do for an ad. But the writing of the article, the page number at the bottom, all that stuff is all one font.
Yeah. It's just the look or the appeal. Like we started out with like 4 or 5 pictures on the cover. It looks really, really busy. People might just kind of glance at it and pass by. But if you have one good photo, one good shot for the cover, they stop and they say, wow, I'm going to pick that up. The same way with the inside of the magazine. You want what's printed in there to have a look.
You don't want
or
it to
an
be
appeal.
you don't want it to be hard to read.
Right. You want it
You
to
want
be
it to be
appealing.
easier on your eyes and easy to read, and that's what I asked for. Just like when we changed it from the Atlanta Airport Guide to the ATL. I went to the airport. My wife and I are Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus at the airport. So we know the general manager, the assistant general manager, and I sat down with the general manager at the time, who was, anyway, he was there, and I said to him, I'm thinking about changing the name of my book to the ATL. That's your call list. What do you think? I like that. I like that a lot. How many ads do we have in there? Well, none yet, but he's, well, I'll fix that. He said, I like that a lot. I think that's a good idea, and I have no problems with you doing it. So I asked his permission, and the next book we came out with was the ATL. And our first cover was the Braves. And then we did a picture that was supposed to be another picture, but ended up being a different one. And we did a painting. And then our third cover was
the Hawks basketball.
The Hawks basketball. And then our fourth cover was with Cookie Smoke at the ATL district, and it was Stranger Things. And we had to get all kinds of permission to put Stranger Things on the cover. And then our next one was a picture of beer, and it was about an article about beer. And then we just went from there.
So with the initial cover that had, like you said, it was kind of busy, was that trying to maximize the amount of businesses you highlight or was servicing when you had that many ones on there?
I think that was kind of a basic idea.
That was a basic idea.
Okay.
And when we first bought the book, on the outside line there were stripes there, but the stripes didn't line up. It could be a blue stripe.
What were those stripes representing? Pages?
A page.
Page
certain
section.
category.
But the problem was it would say restaurants and it would be green, but when you turn to the restaurants, the headers at the top were purple. And so I wanted them to match up.
Okay.
And so we made them all match up, and that's when we started doing stuff, and that's when we figured out we need to get the fonts to match up. So we have learned over the last 10 years a ton.
Yeah, from our graphic designer, from the company that prints our magazine, from the guy that used to own the magazine. I mean, they've been invaluable. Once again, you can't do it by yourself. Get people you trust, people who have the experience and the wisdom, and learn from them.
And if I tell you to get 2 years and go to a bakery, I worked for 9.5 years for this guy before I bought the book.
Yes,
so be patient. I learned a ton. I went on press with him, which is to go to press side to watch the press being print stuff. I mean, I did a ton. I talked to a guy on the way home today that's a printer, and he found out I know more about printing than he does. And so I had to learn. It's one of those things you have to learn and understand what you're doing, and it's made it work for us.
That's fantastic, and that's a great note too as well. So you have some collab issues coming up. Did you want to speak to any of those, or they're kind of early?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
You have some magazine new issues coming that you collab with.
Oh, yes. The issue that's out now is our summer issue. The one that will be fall. It comes out the first week of October. That is going to be our 20th anniversary edition. Yay!
A lot of magazines don't make it past 5 years or 10 years. 20 is a big deal. That's a milestone. And we've been fortunate enough with this last book, before this one that we just had, that had Chick-fil-A on the front cover. We did a lot of work with Chick-fil-A. They sent us the picture. And we also did a slide-off, knockoff book for the AKAs. And then this last cover that we did, we collaborated with ESPN. So it was
MEAC SWAC
football challenge. It was done with cricket and ESPN, and we wrote the article. They approved it. We did all kinds of stuff back and forth. Actually, they wrote the article.
Yes.
They wrote the article, and we approved it.
Yeah.
But it was amazing to be able to work with ESPN. They're real professionals. It was amazing to be able to work with the AKAs.
And that one was a special limited edition with the AKAs.
With the AKAs, yeah. What we did is the inside of the books are exactly the same, but the cover, we designed a special cover just for them, so that they could put it in the bags of the 8,000 people that were coming down here. But we kept the Chick-fil-A on the rest of the 90,000. What happened was, because they picked up 8,000 of the ones we printed for them, and then an extra 9,000, and because we had so many books out there, we printed 95,000 books, and it was supposed to last 90 days, and we ran out in 62 days. So we had to go to press early with the MEAC SWAC one. And so we went to press early. We got the book in. It came in a week ago. It wasn't supposed to come out till the 5th or 6th of July. But by the time the 5th or 6th gets here, we'll have most of them in the rack. It takes about 10 days to put them out. It takes about 26,000 books to fill the racks. And that's another interesting thing that happened, where if you get lemons, they say you make lemonade. Now, if I get lemons, I make key lime pie. So we actually, when we empty the racks, if everything went according to Garth, and you have 25,000 books in the rack, when you get the new books in, you're going to pull 12 or 13,000 books out, and then fill up the racks and then throw those away. Well, I didn't want to throw 12,000 books away. And so we would use them at the airport when they wanted it. And they finally said, well, we need more books. And I said, well, what do you need it for? Well, these maps. I said, well, those maps never change. Could you use some old books? You have old books? And I said, yes. Can you put that on your letterhead that we're using old books? And I went, okay, but why do you want to brag about using old books? Well, we get recycle points. And if we use old books, and you tell us, by the way, they use 100,000 books a year, that 100,000 books were used here, but 82,000 of them were old books, we get points toward millions of dollars of money that we get for recycling. I went, I give you a letter in January every year. And so we do. And so that's taken that lemons and making key lime pie. It worked for them. And because of having that, when we ran out of the books this time, we were able to use the books, put them behind the new books, still keep the new books out there, Nobody ran out of books. The only thing I had to do is I wasn't going to have that extra 12,000 or 13,000 books to put in. So I had to order another 20,000 books to be able to fill them into the airport. And instead of it taking 2 months for them to use the new books, they'll get them in about 3 weeks. And then the old books will be gone and all the new ones will come out.
Yeah, who say print is dead? People are still
People are still printing.
thumbing through. We're gonna keep that pushing and keep that spirit alive of reading and gaining information that way as well. So where are the different places that your book is?
Tell them where they are.
On?
We're in all the welcome centers throughout the state of Georgia. We are in 12 locations inside the airport itself. We're in a lot of the local CVBs like Jonesboro and Douglasville, Athens, Lake Lanier. We're in over 184 hotels in the area, 22 cities, and then our rack system, it's probably over 480 something racks. You can find them like in libraries, city halls, local restaurants, doctors' offices, local businesses like the printers and so forth.
Most of the libraries in Fulton County and South Fulton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some in Clayton County. So it's
different businesses.
It's out there.
Our karate instructor has the magazine. There's a driving school that has them in there. It's just because it's a source of local information. Like Michael said, it has maps. It has a calendar of events. It has articles of local interest.
It has restaurants. It has businesses. It has services. It has. I mean, it's not everybody, but if you get here, it's got a lot.
Yeah.
It's got a lot. It took me probably a year to figure out how much stuff was in there. And it's amazing. When we go to close a book, it's only 56 pages. But the reason it takes a week is 2 weeks out, we close down the calendar event. If somebody has another calendar event, we may or may not be able to get it in the book because you can't close 56 pages in the last hour. You got to compartmentalize.
Oh, compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize sections of the book and get that done, and then get another thing done and another thing done. And you can do it so that you have all the writing done, but you're waiting for the pictures. You didn't drop the pictures in. And so as we do it, we start closing down sections. Calendar events is done. The write-up for the cities is done. This is done over here. Everything's done but this right here. The last page we do, we call it the talk page. Tell them what talk is.
Talk is table of contents, TOC.
So sometimes what was on page 29 goes to page 30. Because the last thing I do with the book is after we get it all put together, I say, ooh, we ought to pull this out and put it over here. And then I could put this out, and then I could put this out here. And that'll be a lot better book. So they bounce back and forth and they move.
Cool.
Some of them, they can buy a page and be on that page.
Yeah.
But some of them, like for instance, in this last book, we had one that had a page that was facing the gatefold. And it used to be the city of South Fulton. And she says, just once I'd like to be in the front of the book. So I took the chamber ad and put it where they were and put them on the inside front cover.
Yeah, sorry you can't see all that, folks.
They'll go.
Yeah, we're gonna link to the website and they're gonna be able to actually see that, and they're gonna get a link to your website where they can actually see what was fantastic. We have 1 minute left. But your website is very innovative, so people don't think it's just print. You can go online and look through, and the stream page actually thumb through itself.
Yeah,
and the translators on there, so it's all inclusive. So please, don't feel it's limited in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, we have a minute left. Is there anything that you want to
I would just say go to See Do ATL.
Yes,
GOSEEDOATL.com. That's our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn,
One more
and the
time.
website. Go See Do. GOSEEDOATL.com.
And that's your Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Good, next week there might be Snapchat. You don't know.
And Mike and Ellen, thank you so much for allowing me to ramble with you. It's been my pleasure, and we just look forward to networking with you guys. And we know people are going to support and come through the book and enjoy. Go See Do ATL when they are in town.
And our email is info@goseedoatl.com. Reach out to Ellen and I if we can help you with anything.